The Kryn commander surveyed Proxima Station with satisfaction. The small facility hung in space before him, its shields flickering under sustained fire from his fleet. Soon they would breach the hull and claim their prize. The inhabitants would make good food stock. His species had raided dozens of stations like this over the past year. The Galactic Council always took days to respond, and by then the Kryn were long gone. This would be no different. 30 warships surrounded the station in a perfect net. Nothing could escape. Nothing could help them, or so he thought. The first warning came from his sensor officer, a sharp chittering sound that indicated alarm. "Commander, I'm detecting faster than light signatures. 7, no, 8 vessels approaching our position." The commander clicked his mandibles in annoyance. "Council ships already? Impossible. Check your sensors." "Sensors are functioning correctly, Commander. The ships are not Council vessels. The signatures are different. Unknown configuration. Unknown?" The Kryn had profiles on every Council species. Who could this be? Time to arrival? 3 minutes, Commander, 3 minutes. Barely enough time to finish breaching the station, but the commander was cautious. He had survived this long by never taking unnecessary risks. All ships cease fire on the station, reform defensive formation, and prepare to engage unknown vessels. His fleet moved with practiced efficiency, the 30 warships creating a wall between the approaching unknowns and Proxima Station. Whatever was coming would have to go through them first. 2 minutes later, the unknown fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. The commander studied the tactical display with growing confusion. 7 large vessels, clearly warships, 3 even larger ships that seemed to be carriers, and a collection of smaller vessels behind them. It was an impressive force, but not overwhelming. His 30 ships outnumbered them comfortably. Then his communication officer began chittering frantically. "Commander, incoming transmission. Audio only, play it." A human voice came through the speakers, calm and cold. "Kryn vessels, this is Commander Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have attacked a facility under our protection. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender, or we will open fire. This is your only warning." The commander felt something like amusement. These humans, the new species everyone whispered about, thought they could threaten him, with only 7 warships against his 30. "Ignore them," he ordered. "All ships lock weapons on the human fleet. Fire on my command." Back on the Valiant, Captain Lisa Chen sat in her command chair and watched the Kryn fleet hold position. The 30 seconds had expired. "They're not surrendering," her tactical officer reported. "Kryn ships are charging weapons." Lisa opened a channel to the fleet. "All ships, this is Chen. Authorization code Sierra 77. You are weapons free. Leave nothing." She looked at her tactical officer. "Target their command ship first. Full spread. Aye, Captain, firing." The Valiant shuddered as it launched its opening volley. Railguns spat tungsten rods at a fraction of the speed of light. Missile pods opened and released a swarm of warheads, each one guided by sophisticated targeting systems. Plasma cannons built up charge and then released bursts of superheated matter. And the Valiant was just one ship. All 7 human warships fired simultaneously. The space between the 2 fleets became a storm of weapons fire. But where the Kryn expected to see the humans launching carefully aimed shots, trying to make each weapon count against superior numbers, they instead saw overwhelming firepower. The Kryn command ship took 17 railgun impacts in the first 3 seconds. Its shields, designed to stop normal weapons fire, couldn't handle the kinetic energy. They collapsed, and the tungsten rods punched through the hull like paper. Then the missiles arrived. 47 warheads, each one independently targeted at different weak points in the ship's structure. The explosions tore the command ship apart from the inside. The entire engagement, from first shot to the command ship's destruction, took 11 seconds. The Kryn fleet scattered, abandoning formation in panic. This wasn't warfare as they knew it. This was extermination. "Second target," Lisa ordered calmly. The heavy cruiser portside. Her crew worked with smooth efficiency. They had trained for this scenario hundreds of times. Every officer knew their role. Every system functioned perfectly. The second Kryn ship died 18 seconds after the first. Aboard his command ship at the fleet's rear, Jake watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. The Kryn were breaking apart, each ship trying to flee in a different direction. "Don't let them scatter," he ordered on the fleet channel. "I want them all." The Kryn need to learn that attacking humans has consequences. The three carriers launched their fighter wings. Small fast craft poured out of the hangar bays, over 300 of them. They swept through the Kryn fleet like a swarm, their weapons targeting engines and weapon systems. Within 5 minutes of the engagement starting, 12 Kryn ships had been destroyed. The rest were trying desperately to charge their faster-than-light drives and escape. "Deploy close-in defense systems," Lisa ordered. Her weapons officer input commands, and the Valiant transformed. Panels opened all along its hull, revealing thousands of small turrets. Point defense systems meant to shoot down incoming missiles, but the humans had found another use for them. The turrets tracked the fleeing Kryn ships and opened fire. The combined firepower from all 7 human warships created a wall of destruction that no Kryn vessel could cross. Ships that tried to flee were shredded by the storm of fire. Krell watched all of this from the command center on Earth. He had demanded that Jake allow him to observe the battle via remote feed. Now he wished he hadn't. The display showed the Kryn fleet being systematically destroyed. It wasn't a battle. It was an execution. The humans fought with a cold precision that terrified him more than any berserker rage could. 17 Kryn ships destroyed, an officer reported. 18, 19, the numbers kept climbing. The Kryn tried everything. Desperate maneuvers, suicide runs, random jumps to faster-than-light speed. Nothing worked. The human ships were faster, better armed, and vastly more coordinated than anything the Kryn had ever faced. "How?" Krell whispered. "How is this possible?" The human officer nearby glanced at him. "Captain Chen is one of our best. She's fought in over 40 engagements during our training exercises. Every officer in that fleet has at least 10 years of experience." "But these aren't exercises," Krell protested. "This is real combat." "Yeah," the officer agreed. "But we train like it's real. We run scenarios every week. Every possible situation, every type of enemy. By the time our people see actual combat, they've already fought the battle 100 times in simulation." Krell turned back to the display. 23 Kryn ships destroyed now. The survivors were no longer trying to fight. They were just trying to survive. They failed. 18 minutes after the first shot was fired, the last Kryn ship exploded under sustained fire from human fighters. The battle was over. The space around Proxima Station was filled with debris and expanding clouds of gas that had once been warships. 30 Kryn vessels had come here expecting easy prey. Not one survived. Lisa opened a channel to the station. "Proxima Station, this is Captain Chen of the Valiant. The hostile fleet has been neutralized. You are secure. We're sending medical ships to assist with any casualties," a shaking voice responded. "Thank you, Captain." "Thank you. We thought we were all going to die." "Not on our watch," Lisa said simply. She closed the channel and looked at her crew. They had fought brilliantly, every one of them. But there was no celebration. They had just killed thousands of beings. That wasn't something to celebrate, even when necessary. "Stand down from combat alert," Lisa ordered. "Begin recovery operations. I want debris cleared and survivors located. Move." Her crew got to work, their professionalism never wavering. On Earth, Krell stood in the command center and tried to process what he had witnessed. The humans had deployed a fleet in minutes. They had traveled to a battle in hours. They had destroyed a superior force in less than 20 minutes. And according to the officer beside him, this was normal. This was how humans fought. He thought about his report to the council. About how he had written that humans were cautious but not threatening. About how he had recommended them as a solid addition to the galactic community. He had been so wrong. These humans weren't just another species learning to navigate space. They were predators who had brought their talent for warfare from Earth to the stars. They had shown Krell their defensive capabilities and let him assume that was everything. Now he knew the truth. And soon the entire galaxy would know it too. 6 weeks after the council delegation's visit to Earth, Ambassador Krell found himself standing in an observation gallery overlooking a massive construction facility. Admiral Peter Cole stood beside him, watching the work below in comfortable silence. The Dauntless hung in the construction bay like a sleeping giant. Work crews swarmed over its hull, welding armor plates and installing weapon systems. Even incomplete, the ship was the most intimidating thing Krell had ever seen. "The council has been debating your membership status for weeks now," Krell said quietly. "Some members want to reject your application entirely. They see you as a threat to galactic stability." "And what do you think?" Peter asked. Krell considered his answer carefully. I think I was a fool when I first came here. I thought I understood humanity after a brief tour and some pleasant conversations. I wrote in my report that you were cautious but harmless. We are cautious, Peter said with a slight smile. The harmless part is more debatable. You destroyed 30 warships in less than 20 minutes, Krell said. I've seen Council peacekeeping operations that took weeks to achieve similar results. And you did it without losing a single ship. Captain Chen is very good at her job, Peter agreed. So are the other commanders in that fleet. We train hard because we know that when things go wrong, people die. We try very hard to make sure that the people who die aren't ours. Krell watched the work crews moving across the Dauntless. How long until she's operational? Another 8 months, Peter replied. The other dreadnoughts are at various stages of construction. The first 4 should be complete within a year. And then? Krell asked. What will you do with all this military power? Peter turned to look at him. Protect our people. Defend our borders. Help those who need it. The same things we've always done. The Council fears you will use these ships to conquer territory, Krell said. To expand human space by force. We have no interest in conquest, Peter said firmly. Earth is our home. Our colonies are enough. We don't want to rule over other species. We just want to be left alone to live our lives. Then why build weapons like this? Krell gestured at the Dauntless. Because being left alone requires being able to defend yourself, Peter explained. Because the galaxy is full of species like the Kryn who see peaceful civilizations as prey. Because we learned on Earth that the strong take from the weak unless the weak make themselves strong. He walked along the observation gallery, and Krell followed. Through the windows they could see other construction bays. More ships in various stages of completion. Do you know what humans call this? Peter asked, gesturing at the ships. We call it insurance. We hope we never need it. We'll be happy if these ships never fire a shot in anger. But if the day comes when we do need them, we'll have them ready. The Council calls it an arms race, Krell said. Maybe it is, Peter admitted. But we didn't start it. The Kryn attacked Proxima Station. How many other stations have they hit? How many more will they attack if someone doesn't stop them? Krell had no answer for that. The Kryn raids had continued even after Proxima Station. They were more cautious now, avoiding human territory, but they still attacked softer targets. The Council is slow, Peter continued. I understand why. Coordinating 17 different species, each with their own interests and concerns, requires careful diplomacy. But that slowness costs lives. While the Council debates protocols, people die. So you will act without us, Krell said. It wasn't a question. If we must, Peter confirmed. We prefer to work with the Council. We want to be good members of the galactic community. But we will not sacrifice lives for the sake of proper procedure. That's a line we won't cross. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the construction crews work. I have a question, Krell said finally. During my tour, when I asked about your redundant systems, Commander Morrison said you like to be prepared. Is that all this is? Preparation? Peter smiled. You're starting to understand us, Ambassador. Yes, that's what this is. Every human learns from childhood that being prepared is the difference between survival and disaster. We carry umbrellas in case it rains. We have spare tires in case we get a flat. We have fire extinguishers in case something catches fire. And you have battle fleets in case someone attacks you, Krell finished. Exactly, Peter said. To us, it's all the same principle. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. It's just common sense. Common sense, Krell repeated. He thought about how the Council had reacted to human military capabilities. The shock, the fear, the accusations of aggression. And all the humans were doing was following the same basic principle they applied to everything else in their lives. The Council will make their decision soon, Krell said. About your membership. And if they reject us? Peter asked. Then you'll continue on your own, Krell said. Building your ships. Protecting your people. Acting when you see the need, regardless of what the Council says. Yes, Peter agreed simply. Krell made a decision. I'm going to recommend full membership. Not provisional. Full membership with all rights and responsibilities. Peter looked surprised. Given how the Council feels about us, that's a bold recommendation. Perhaps, Krell said. But I've been thinking about something. The Council has peacekeeping forces, but they're slow to deploy. We have protocols and procedures that prioritize order over speed. It takes us days to respond to crises that require immediate action. He turned to face Peter fully. But you respond in hours. You saved 2,000 lives at Proxima Station because you were willing and able to act quickly. How many more lives could be saved if the Council had that capability? You're suggesting what exactly? Peter asked carefully. I'm suggesting that the galaxy needs what you offer, Krell said. Not your weapons, though those are impressive. But your willingness to act. Your rapid response capability. Your commitment to protecting innocent lives even when it's not convenient or politically advantageous. He gestured at the Dauntless and the other ships under construction. You call this overkill. You arm every ship because you might need those weapons someday. You maintain fleets on standby because emergencies don't wait for you to get ready. The Council sees this as excessive. I'm starting to see it as necessary. Peter studied him for a long moment. You've changed your opinion of us significantly since you first arrived. I have, Krell admitted. I thought I was meeting a young species that needed guidance. Instead, I met a species that has things to teach us. About preparation. About rapid response. About putting lives before politics, he paused, then continued. The Kryn attacked Proxima Station because they thought no one could stop them in time. They were wrong. Now every hostile species in the galaxy knows that attacking certain targets will result in immediate and overwhelming retaliation. That's not just military capability, Admiral. That's deterrence. That's peace through strength. The Council might not see it that way, Peter warned. Then I'll help them understand, Krell said firmly. I'll show them the footage from Proxima Station again. I'll explain how your rapid response saved 2,000 lives. I'll make them see that having humans as allies is better than having you as neutral parties who act independently. Peter smiled. You've become quite the advocate for humanity, Ambassador. I've become an advocate for saving lives, Krell corrected. If that means supporting human membership despite your excessive military preparations, so be it. The galaxy is a dangerous place. Perhaps having someone who takes that danger seriously isn't such a bad thing. They turned back to watch the construction work. The Dauntless was taking shape piece by piece. In 8 months, it would be complete. In a year, 4 dreadnoughts would be operational. The human fleet would be one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy, and Krell was going to recommend that the Council welcome them as full members. There's one condition, Krell said. If the Council grants full membership, we'll need assurances that you won't use this military power for conquest. You have my word, Peter said. And humanity's word. We build these ships to protect, not to conquer. We have no territorial ambitions beyond our current borders. And if another Proxima Station happens? Krell asked. If there's another crisis requiring immediate response? Then we'll respond, Peter said without hesitation. Immediately and with overwhelming force. That's what we do. That's what we'll always do. Krell nodded slowly. I thought so. I'll include that in my recommendation as well. The Council needs to understand that accepting humanity means accepting your way of doing things. Your rapid response, your willingness to act, your tendency toward what you call overkill. They might not like it, Peter observed. No, Krell agreed. But they'll learn to appreciate it. The next time a crisis erupts and human ships arrive within hours to save lives, they'll appreciate it very much. He looked at Peter and extended his hand in the human gesture of respect. Peter took it and they shook. Welcome to the Galactic Council, Admiral, Krell said. I suspect you're going to change how we do things around here. Not change, Peter said. Just supplement. You have your way of doing things. We have ours. Together maybe we can find a balance. Your careful diplomacy and our rapid response. Your established procedures and our willingness to act quickly when needed. A balance between caution and action, Krell mused. 3 days after the battle at Proxima Station, Ambassador Krell stood in a conference room facing the Galactic Council. The holographic projections of 17 different species looked down at him from their positions around the virtual chamber. High Chancellor Vorn, a massive crystalline being whose species had founded the Council, spoke first. His voice rumbled through the translators like distant thunder. Ambassador Krell, your report about the human military response is deeply troubling. You stated that you observed their capabilities during your initial tour. How did you miss this? Krell felt the weight of their stares. Honored Chancellor, the humans showed me exactly what they said they would show me. Their defensive capabilities. I simply failed to ask about anything else. Failed to ask? Another council member interjected. This was Shard, representing the Crystalline Collective. You are an experienced diplomat. You have overseen first contact with 9 species. How could you make such a fundamental error? Because they didn't lie, Krell said firmly. They answered every question I asked truthfully. They showed me their standard defense vessels and their normal weapon systems. I assumed that was everything. I was wrong. High Chancellor Vorn leaned forward. Play the battle footage again. The room darkened and a holographic display appeared in the center. Krell had seen this recording a dozen times now, but it still shocked him. The Kryn fleet surrounding Proxima Station, the arrival of the human ships, and then the slaughter. The council members watched in silence as 30 Kryn warships were methodically destroyed in less than 20 minutes. When it ended, several moments passed before anyone spoke. This level of firepower is unprecedented for a species at their development level, Vorn said quietly. One of their warships carries more weapons than our dreadnoughts. How did they achieve this? They prioritize military strength, Krell explained. Their entire history has been shaped by conflict. When they unified their planet 50 years ago, they didn't abandon their weapons. They pointed them outward toward space. Shard's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. But the redundancy. Even their medical ships carry weapons. Their cargo vessels have shields strong enough to withstand military-grade attacks. This goes beyond reasonable preparation. This is paranoia. They call it being prepared, Krell said. And given what we just saw, perhaps they have a point. That's not the issue, another council member said. This was Ambassador Trell, representing the aquatic domains. The issue is that they mobilized a full battle group and launched an offensive operation without council approval. They acted unilaterally in a situation that required diplomatic coordination. With respect, Krell said carefully, they saved 2,000 lives. If they had waited for council approval, everyone on that station would be dead. Procedures exist for a reason, Trell argued. We cannot have individual species launching military operations whenever they feel it's necessary. That way leads to chaos. High Chancellor Vorn raised one massive crystal hand for silence. Enough. Ambassador Krell, the Council requires more information. We need to understand the full scope of human military capabilities. Can you arrange a meeting with their leadership? I already have, Krell replied. Admiral Peter Cole has agreed to meet with a Council delegation. He suggested we come to Earth rather than use holographic communication. He says there are things he wants to show us in person. Very well, Vorn said. Assemble a delegation. You will return to Earth and conduct a full military assessment. The Council needs to know exactly what we're dealing with. 2 days later, Krell stood on the landing pad at the Colorado facility once again. This time he wasn't alone. 5 other Council members had joined him, including Shard and Ambassador Trell. They represented the most powerful species in the Council, and they were not happy. Admiral Peter Cole met them at the facility entrance. He was an older human male with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He greeted each council member politely and led them to a conference room. Thank you for coming, Peter said once they were seated. I understand you have concerns about our actions at Proxima Station. Concerns? Trell said sharply. You violated council protocols and launched an unauthorized military operation. That's more than a concern, Admiral. Peter nodded calmly. You're right. We did violate protocols. We launched without approval, and given the same situation, we would do it again. The bluntness of this statement created a shocked silence. You admit to deliberately breaking council law? Shard asked. I admit to prioritizing lives over paperwork, Peter replied. Your protocols would have taken 48 hours. Those people had 6 hours, maybe less. So yes, we broke the rules. We'll accept whatever punishment the council decides. But those 2,000 people are alive, and that's what matters. Krell watched Peter carefully. The human showed no signs of remorse or fear. He had made a decision and stood by it completely. Let me be clear about something, Peter continued. We're not trying to undermine the council. We're not trying to start conflicts. But we will not stand by and watch people die while we wait for authorization. That's not who we are as a species. Then who are you? Vorn asked quietly. Help us understand. Peter stood and walked to a window overlooking the facility. We're a species that nearly destroyed itself multiple times. We've fought wars that killed millions. We've developed weapons that could sterilize our entire planet. We know what we're capable of, both good and bad. He turned back to face them. When we unified Earth, we made a choice. We would never be helpless again. Never be caught unprepared. Never watch our people die because we weren't strong enough to protect them. So you built an overwhelming military, Trell said. You armed every ship. You maintain fleets on constant standby. You prepare for war constantly. No, Peter corrected. We prepare constantly so we never have to fight a war. There's a difference, Shard spoke up. Admiral, during Ambassador Krell's tour, you showed him your defensive capabilities. You deliberately misled him about your true strength. We showed him exactly what we said we would show him, Peter said firmly. Lieutenant Richards demonstrated our standard defensive weapons and systems. She didn't lie. She didn't hide anything. She answered every question asked. But you didn't volunteer information, Krell observed. No, Peter admitted. We didn't, because we wanted to see how you would react to what we considered basic capabilities. We wanted to understand Council military standards before revealing our full strength. He pulled up a display on the conference room screen. During your tour, Ambassador, you saw the Horizon. A good ship, solid design, capable of defending our borders. What you didn't see was this. The display showed a ship that dwarfed the Horizon. It bristled with weapons, armor plating visible even from the exterior view. This is the Dauntless, Peter said. Our first true dreadnought. She's been under construction for 6 years. We started building her before we even knew you existed. The council members stared at the massive vessel. How many of these do you have? Thorne asked. We're building 12, Peter replied, plus supporting fleets. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers, support vessels. Enough to defend our territory and project force when necessary. This is madness, Trell said. You're preparing to fight a war against the entire galaxy. No, Peter said patiently. We're preparing so that no one will even think about fighting us. There's a term we use on Earth. Deterrence. Make yourself strong enough that attacking you becomes suicide. That's what we're doing. Shard's crystalline form pulsed rapidly, a sign of agitation. You're describing an arms race, Admiral. If you build these fleets, other species will feel threatened. They'll build their own weapons. The cycle will spiral out of control. Maybe, Peter acknowledged. Or maybe species like the Kryn will see what happened at Proxima Station and think twice before attacking anyone. Maybe pirates will find easier targets. Maybe the next time a station is in danger, people will know that help is coming fast. He looked at each council member in turn. You've been dealing with the Kryn raids for over a year. How many stations have they hit? How many people have died while the council debated proper protocols? No one answered. We didn't join the galaxy to fight wars, Peter said quietly. We joined hoping for peace. But we learned a long time ago that peace requires strength. You don't get peace by being weak. You get it by being strong enough that no one dares attack you. And what you call overkill, Krell said, understanding finally clicking into place. You consider common sense. Exactly, Peter agreed. To you, putting weapons on a medical ship seems excessive. To us, it's obvious. That ship might have to operate in dangerous areas. Why would we send it out defenseless? He smiled slightly. You see redundant systems and think we're being paranoid. We see redundant systems and sleep better at night, knowing that if something breaks, we have a backup. High Chancellor Vorn was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice thoughtful. Admiral Cole, the Council needs time to discuss this situation. But I have one question for you. If we asked you to reduce your military capabilities to disarm to Council standard levels, would you comply? Peter met the Chancellor's gaze steadily. No, we would respectfully decline. We determine our own defense needs. That's not negotiable. The answer hung in the air, defiant but honest. The alarm woke Krell from his sleep at 3 a.m. His translator device chirped urgently on the bedside table. He grabbed it and pressed the activation button. Ambassador Krell, this is Commander Morrison. We need you at headquarters immediately. There's been an incident. Krell dressed quickly and rushed outside. A human vehicle waited for him, and within minutes he was speeding through the dark streets toward the military command center. His mind raced with possibilities. An incident could mean anything from a diplomatic misunderstanding to a declaration of war. The command center was blazing with lights when he arrived. Humans rushed back and forth, their faces tense and focused. Jake met him at the entrance and led him to a briefing room. What has happened? Krell asked. Proxima Station is under attack, Jake said grimly. The Kryn swarm hit them about an hour ago. Krell felt his blood run cold. The Kryn were one of the most dangerous species in the galaxy, a race of insectoid creatures that attacked without warning or mercy. They had been raiding outer colonies for months, and the Council had been struggling to respond. How many ships? Krell asked. Our sensors detected about 30 warships, Jake replied. The station has minimal defenses. They won't last long. They entered the briefing room where other human commanders had gathered around a holographic display. Krell could see Proxima Station, a small research facility on the edge of human space. Red markers surrounded it, representing the Kryn fleet. "How many people are on the station?" Krell asked. "Just over 2,000, a woman replied. Krell recognized her as Captain Lisa Chen, one of the officers he had met during his tour. "Researchers, support staff, and about 200 of your people, Ambassador." Krell's hands trembled. 200 Valorians along with humans and other species, all trapped as the Kryn closed in. "I must contact the Council immediately," Krell said. "They will dispatch a peacekeeping fleet according to standard protocol." "How long will that take?" Jake asked. 48 hours, Krell said. "It is the fastest possible response time under galactic law. We must file the proper requests, assemble the fleet, coordinate with member species." 48 hours? Lisa interrupted. "Those people will be dead in 6. Krell spread his hands helplessly. "I understand your frustration, Captain, but there are procedures. The Council cannot simply—" "With respect, Ambassador," Jake said, his voice hard. "We're not waiting 48 hours. Krell stared at him. "Commander, you cannot. You are not yet a full Council member. You have no authority to engage in military operations without approval." Jake looked at Lisa, then at the other officers around the table. Something passed between them, an understanding that didn't require words. "We'll deal with the political consequences later," Jake said. "Right now we have people dying. That's all that matters." He turned to Lisa. "Captain Chen, how long until the Valiant is ready to launch?" 15 minutes, Lisa replied without hesitation. "I can have the entire rapid response group ready in 30. Krell couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You cannot possibly mobilize a fleet that quickly." "It's impossible," Lisa smiled, but there was no humor in it. "Ambassador, we've had ships ready to launch at a moment's notice since the day we learned we weren't alone in the universe. This is exactly what we built them for." Jake was already issuing orders. Officers ran from the room, speaking into communication devices. On the holographic display, Krell watched in amazement as indicators began lighting up across Earth and nearby orbital facilities. Ships were powering up. Weapons were being loaded. Crews were boarding vessels that Krell hadn't even known existed. "This is madness," Krell said. "You will start a war. The Council will be furious." "Then they'll be furious," Jake said calmly. "But those people will be alive." 23 minutes after the alarm first sounded, the first human warship launched from Earth orbit. Then another, and another. Krell stood in the command center, watching the display in stunned silence as a full battle group assembled in space above the planet. 7 warships, each bristling with weapons. 3 massive carriers, their hangar bays full of fighter craft. A dozen support vessels, including medical ships, supply transports, and repair platforms. "How?" Krell whispered. "How is this possible?" "We told you," Jake said quietly beside him. "We like to be prepared." But this wasn't just preparation. This was something else entirely. The humans had maintained an entire fleet on constant standby, crews ready, weapons loaded, just waiting for an emergency. The fleet formed into a precise formation and engaged their faster-than-light drives. In less than 30 minutes from the initial alarm, they were gone, racing toward Proxima Station at speeds that would take them there in just under 3 hours. Krell sat down heavily in a chair. His mind struggled to process what he had just witnessed. The humans had mobilized a battle group faster than most species could scramble a single ship. They had launched without Council approval, without waiting for diplomatic clearance, without following any of the proper procedures. And they had done it because people were in danger. That was all the reason they needed. "Commander Morrison," Krell said slowly. "What exactly did you show me during my tour?" Jake glanced at him. "We showed you our defensive capabilities. Standard equipment for protecting Earth and our territory. And what is heading to Proxima Station right now?" "Our offensive capabilities," Jake replied. "The ships we use when we need to project force beyond our borders." Krell felt a chill run down his spine. "You made a distinction. Defensive versus offensive." "Of course," Jake said, as if this was obvious. "Different roles require different tools. Show me," Krell demanded. "Show me what you sent to Proxima Station." Jake hesitated, then nodded. He brought up detailed specifications on one of the displays. Krell read through the information, his eyes widening with each line. The warships the humans called defensive were well armed by Council standards. But these offensive warships were something else entirely. Each one carried enough firepower to threaten a small planet. Their shields could withstand sustained bombardment. Their weapons systems included technology Krell had never seen before. "This is one ship?" Krell asked, unable to hide his shock. "That's the Valiant," Jake confirmed. "Captain Chen's ship. She's a good vessel, solid and reliable. About average for our fleet. Average. The humans considered this an average warship. The others are similar?" Krell asked weakly. "Some are bigger, some smaller. But yeah, they're all built to the same standards." Krell looked at the support vessels. Even the medical ships carried weapons that would make a council patrol boat jealous. The supply transports had shield generators strong enough to survive in a combat zone. "Everything is armed," Krell observed. "Even your supply ships carry weapons." "Space is dangerous," Jake said with a shrug. "We don't send unarmed vessels outside Earth's protection. What if they run into pirates? Or hostile aliens? Better to have weapons and not need them than need them and not have them." That philosophy again, always preparing for the worst. Always assuming danger could strike at any moment. Krell had thought he understood humans during his tour. He had seen their ships, their weapons, their training. He had written in his report that they were cautious but not threatening. Now he realized the truth. The humans hadn't lied to him. They had simply answered the questions he asked. They had shown him what he asked to see, but there was so much more they hadn't mentioned. So much they considered normal that would terrify the council. "Commander," Krell said carefully, "when this is over, we need to have a very long conversation about human military doctrine." Jake looked at him and nodded slowly. "Yeah, I guess we do. But first, let's make sure everyone at Proxima Station lives to see tomorrow." On the display, the human fleet raced through space toward a battle that would change everything. The council thought they understood humanity's place in the galaxy. They thought these newcomers would be minor players needing guidance and protection. In less than 3 hours, they would learn how wrong they were. The transport ship descended through Earth's atmosphere with barely a whisper. Ambassador Krell watched through the viewing port as the blue planet grew larger below him. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council made first contact with humanity, and now he was here to help bring these newcomers into the wider universe. Krell was a Valorian, tall and thin with smooth gray skin and large black eyes. His people had been part of the council for over 1,000 years. He had met dozens of new species before. The humans would be no different, he thought. The ship landed at a facility in what the humans called Colorado. Krell stepped out onto the landing pad and took his first breath of Earth air. It was thinner than he liked, but tolerable. A group of humans waited for him at the edge of the pad. Commander Jake Morrison stepped forward and extended his hand. Krell had learned this was a human greeting. He took the hand and shook it carefully. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador," Jake said with a smile. "We're glad to have you here." Jake was a typical human male, average height with brown hair and blue eyes. He wore a dark blue uniform with various insignias that Krell didn't yet understand, but his manner was friendly and open. "Thank you, Commander," Krell replied through his translator device. "I look forward to learning more about your people." Over the next few days, Krell attended meetings with human leaders. They discussed trade agreements, cultural exchange programs, and diplomatic protocols. The humans were eager but cautious. They asked many questions about the Council and the other species in the galaxy. What surprised Krell was how quickly the humans understood complex political situations. They had only known about alien life for 3 months, yet they grasped galactic politics faster than most species did in years. On the 4th day, Jake approached Krell with a proposal. "Ambassador, we'd like to show you some of our military capabilities," Jake said. "Not because we want to intimidate anyone. We just believe in transparency. We want you to know what we can do so there are no surprises later." Krell appreciated this. Many species tried to hide their military strength during first contact. The humans were being refreshingly honest. "I would welcome such a tour," Krell said. The next morning they traveled to a naval facility on the coast. A massive ship floated in the harbor, gray and imposing against the blue water. Jake explained it was called the EFS Horizon, one of Earth's standard defense vessels. They boarded the ship and Jake led them through the corridors. The ship was clean and well-maintained. Human crew members moved with purpose, saluting Jake as he passed. In the command center, Lieutenant Amy Richards waited for them. She was a young woman with red hair tied back in a tight bun. Her green eyes were sharp and intelligent. "Ambassador Krell," she said, nodding respectfully. I'll be showing you our defensive systems today. Amy brought up displays on the main screen. She explained the ship's fusion reactors, which provided clean and powerful energy. She showed them the railgun systems, which used magnetic acceleration to fire projectiles at incredible speeds. These are our primary weapons, Amy said, pointing to various systems on the screen. We also have plasma torpedoes for longer-range engagements and point defense systems to protect against incoming fire. Krell studied the displays carefully. The technology was impressive for such a young species. The weapons were powerful but not excessive. The defenses were solid but not impenetrable. It was exactly what he expected from a species at humanity's level of development. Your ships are well designed, Krell said. You have clearly put much thought into your defense. Amy smiled. Thank you, Ambassador. We try to be thorough. As they toured the rest of the ship, Krell noticed something odd. Every system seemed to have a backup. And the backup had a backup. The ship had 4 separate power grids, 3 independent command centers, and redundant systems for almost everything. Forgive my curiosity, Krell said as they walked through the engine room. But why do you need so many duplicate systems? Is your technology unreliable? Jake laughed. No, our tech is solid. We just like to be prepared. If something breaks, we have a replacement ready. If that breaks, we have another one. It's just how we do things. But surely this is inefficient, Krell pressed. The extra weight, the additional maintenance, the cost. Maybe, Jake admitted. But it means our ships keep fighting even when damaged. A hit that would cripple another vessel might just make us switch to backup power. Krell made a note on his data tablet. The humans were cautious, perhaps overly so. But there was a logic to it. They visited the weapons range next. Amy demonstrated the railguns firing at targets several kilometers away. The projectiles moved so fast they were invisible, but the targets exploded into fragments a second later. Impressive accuracy, Krell observed. We practice a lot, Amy said. Every crew member trains constantly. We don't ever want to be caught unprepared. That word again. Prepared. The humans seemed obsessed with it. Later, as they ate lunch in the officers' mess, Krell asked Jake about Earth's military history. We fought a lot of wars, Jake said quietly. Against each other, mostly. Humans can be pretty brutal when we want to be. We've learned some hard lessons about the cost of being unprepared. But you are at peace now? Krell asked. Yes, Jake said. We united about 50 years ago. Once we realized we needed to work together to reach the stars. But we remember our history. We remember what happens when you're not ready to defend yourself. Krell thought about this. Many species had violent pasts. It was common for planets to have wars before achieving unity. But most species left that violence behind once they joined the galactic community. He wondered if humans would do the same. Over the next 2 weeks, Krell toured several more facilities. He saw training centers where human soldiers practiced combat. He visited factories where ships were built. He observed naval exercises where human vessels maneuvered in formation. Everything was professional and well organized. The humans were clearly competent. But they weren't exceptional. They were simply another species learning to navigate the challenges of space travel. Krell prepared his report for the Council. He wrote about human culture, their technology, and their military capabilities. He noted their tendency toward redundancy and their focus on preparation. He recommended that humanity be granted provisional membership in the Council, with full membership to follow after a probationary period. They are a solid addition to the galactic community, he wrote. Young and cautious but friendly and eager to learn, they pose no threat to established powers and should integrate smoothly into Council society. He submitted his report and settled in for what he thought would be a routine assignment. He would stay on Earth for a year, helping humanity navigate their first steps into the wider universe. Krell had no idea how wrong his assessment would prove to be. The humans had shown him exactly what they said they would show him, their standard defensive capabilities. But there was so much more they hadn't mentioned, so much they considered too obvious to explain. Soon, very soon, Krell would learn what humans really meant when they talked about being prepared.